Now, what is your relationship and awareness around your expectation in life? Now, this is a very interesting topic because many people think and use the term expectation when you have a certain standard and something that you want the outside to be. And then when that doesn't appear, people feel disappointed about it. Now, for me, that sort of relationship with expectation is you have a certain expectation, but the expectation is at the subconscious level. We're not really consciously having that connection with what you want the outside outcome to be. But when you begin understanding the spiritual dimension of what expecting means for us, the entire life will start course correcting and begin creating a different kind of life. So in this video, I want to talk about the spiritual dimension of expectation. Now, what is expectation? Now, expectation, that feeling arises when your desire and the belief merges and get married into one. Let's dissect this a little bit. So you have a desire, for instance, what is it that you want in life? What is the life situation or circumstance or internal state that you are currently living that you want to see change? So you see something that you don't want in life, and we call that contrast. Contrast causes us to become aware of what is it that we want, become aware of the desire that we have. So let's take a moment to tap into that. What is your desire in life? Now, that is one idea, and this sort of pull and the urge that you feel internally that you want to make it happen or manifest in this 3D life. Now, what is the belief about it? Now, do you think that the fulfillment of the desire, whatever that is that you just selected, is gonna easily happen in life tomorrow? Or do you believe that it's gonna take a little bit sometimes? Or do you believe currently that you don't know how to create that based on your past, present experience? Then, depending on the level of belief in relation to what you desire, you expect the outcome. Does that make sense? So belief, desire plus belief equal expectation. So let's change a little bit, right? You have a desire, you become clear with what you really want or what you want to see change in your life to fulfill your desire. Then now you are starting to believe that that is going to happen. Now, most of the time, people operate seeing, then believing. So when you see the evidence of sight in the 3D physical world, something is about to happen, and you see that happening in the external environment, people start believing it. Now, nothing wrong with believing when it's happening, but the superpower that we want to cultivate inside of us is to begin constructing and forming the belief first. So the seeing, the evidence of sight appears following that belief that's inside of us. So one of the most important things that we want to work on to begin living a fulfilling life is to nurture and cultivate the belief. Because when we really begin understanding who we are, meaning that we have an access to the source energy that every single one of us has, and depending on the belief and the attitude that you form, you can change the subconscious energetics, and that is the only reason that the outside circumstances appear. When you start understanding that, we start noticing that we are all the same. The skill set or the experience might be different, but that's something that you can feel in through practices. But what we first must understand is that each and every one of us has the access to the same one power, which is the source of creation, right? So how can we cultivate and develop our belief in order to feel natural that we are living that? That is what we want to cultivate, right? So now that you have a desire, and when you begin believing that desire is going to be manifested, what is the outcome internally? The outcome internally is that you start expecting. You start expecting that that's going to happen, right? So when we understand the spiritual dimension of expectation. Basically, the expectation is the sort of fuel or the motor to move what's already being created in the spiritual plane. And what I mean by that is that when you desire something, it means that you already have it, or that state and potentiality lives in the spiritual plane. And when you begin changing that belief and begin forming an expectation, positive expectation, expansive expectation, expecting the desirable outcome in the future now, you start becoming the creator. So let's go back a little bit. Now, what is the opposite of expectation, right? Expecting the desired outcome is what we want to create. The opposite of that is to expect the undesirable outcome. And many of us, because for most people, seeing is believing is the mode of operation. And then when they don't see in the outside, they start expecting the undesirable outcome, right? And then many of us live past present, right? So if they haven't experienced in the past, they are not expecting the different result, but they subconsciously start expecting the same result appearing in the outside. So what do we need to do in order for us to lean into expecting the desirable outcome? Because expectation is a super and mega power that humans are gifted. And I hope this video helps you to really tune in and bring your attention to what you are expecting on every single day. Many people who are into spirituality and conscious manifestation do the visualization and then go to that feeling of the fulfillment of the desire, and then the expectation is not congruent with what they desire by having a plan B or having a just in case scenario. Because if you have a visualization, if you practice that feeling every single day, and then just in case if it doesn't work, you have a different option. What that really means is that you're expecting the desire to not be manifested. So we want to pay attention to that incongruency in what we are wanting and what we are doing energetically on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. Now, it requires a little bit of the leap of faith, right? And leap of faith to be able to expect to bring that belief and energy into the outside. So that's exactly where we are going next. The prerequisite of forming an expectation, positive expectation to expect a desirable outcome is a leap of faith. What is faith? Faith is believing in the invisible, right? So faith is also called trust. And trusting is an interesting thing, right? Trusting in what? Trusting in the universe, trusting in yourself, trusting in your ability. And notice how most people form the sense of trust or lack thereof based on two factors: the outside visible world or past present experience, their history. So if they have not accomplished anything that they want to manifest in the past present, that becomes the data bank to expect the undesirable outcome. And then you start having a lack of trust. Now, if you don't see the evidence of sight in the 3D physical world, because many people are unconsciously operating on seeing is believing, they start operating, having this absence of trusting the manifestation. Yeah. So cultivating that trust, what is leap of faith, right? Cultivating that trust first leads us to begin experiencing a positive, desirable expectation. Let's dissect trust a little bit more. So why people trust the past, present history of lack thereof? Why people trust the absence of the visible evidence of sight? Because that's how we are wired, right? That's how we are wired. That was the mode, that has been the mode of living for the longest time. If you didn't experience in the past, it means that you are gonna need to work on a lot to make it happen because you haven't experienced it, right? That's something that we are accustomed to think about things. If you don't see the outside result in the physical world, you start telling yourself that it's not here, right? Those are all the pattern how people are living. So many people want to believe in manifestation. Many people are leaning into the spiritual idea, but nevertheless, most people are still trapped in this past present living or outside in living. So simply what we want to do is to flip that around to be able to connect to the idea that you are more than the mind and the body. If you start living life from the place of body, I am the body, I am the mind, you will forever be trapped in this past present mode of living and outside in mode of living. So the first step, my recommendation that I have is to practice living who you truly are, which is your spiritual being. What does that mean? What I mean by your spiritual being is that you are connected to the infinite source and you have the power to navigate that energy flowing to and through you to be able to direct anything that you want to create. And only because you haven't seen in the past, only because of your experience 3 months ago, 10 days ago, yesterday, it doesn't mean that you can make it happen right now. Because if you let that past present be the reason of assuming the same thing, that becomes the manifestation. But if you start believing in your own power because you're bigger than the circumstance, then you start leaning into this idea that, oh, no matter how much I have not been able to do in the past, from past to present, right now, if I tap into and access that power, I can turn that around completely 180 degrees in a moment. And that trust and faith needs to be present. And that trust and the faith emerges when you begin tapping into something bigger than your body and the mind. And when you start experiencing the oneness with the natural world, when you start experiencing that the inside body, the molecule inside of you, is universe on its own, that is not separate from the external universe that you can sense through your five senses. And your body and the living matrix, the infinite universal intelligence that govern this cosmos, are one and integrated. So my question to you is, do you have that palpable feeling that you are not separate from the whole? Are you experiencing the oneness within you and around you? And that is the first step. When we practice that, which I call becoming one with Creator, on a moment to moment, on day-to-day basis, every week, constantly, I want you to try this for 30 days, because unless, many people, this is YouTube video and people go to YouTube, people open the book and people do different things. And I see many people kind of flip-flopping, right? They feel good because they're practicing and their mechanical mind taking over and they go back to the default state. They feel good and go back to the default state, right? There needs to be a little dedication and commitment to be able to drop yourself into experiencing the oneness, becoming one with the whole. And then when you start practicing that sense of trust and the faith that can leap you forward start emerging and arising from within you naturally. And then when that trust start living inside of you, your expectation will naturally follow the level of the trust, because the fundamental seed of what you can expect lives in the trust within you. So once you cultivate that trust by practicing becoming one with whole, you're going to be able to navigate and guide your expectation constantly, permanently to the desired state. Then, once you start owning the expectation to merge the desire and belief, you will be a container vessel and a catalyst for creation, manifestation, by moving the energy to create an uplifting, energized, and inspired environment. So let me know if you have any question. The prerequisite of expectation is trust. The key to cultivate trust is to practice becoming one with the creator. And expectation is something that we want to be engaging, a feeling and a state of mind that we want to cultivate consciously to be able to become the vessel of circulation and creation. The moment you start slipping back to expecting the undesirable, you will find yourself being in a survival mode. You will find yourself being trapped by the outside circumstance. You find yourself by being trapped by your past, present way of living. But when you firm yourself in the energy of trust, and when you only begin practicing expecting the desirable outcome, you will be you won't be able to stop yourself and constantly create and begin connecting with people and start create increasing the circle of creation, and you will be unstoppable. So trust to expectation to manifestation is the order. So let me know if you have any question. I hope this video helps you to really begin becoming aware and then paying attention to trust and expectation. Feel free to comment below, and I'll see you in the next video.